Okay, so I'm going to start with that fat O-ring that started at the base of the threads. And that's probably one of the easier ones. It's fitting right around there. And I just want to jump to this one. This one's a little bit harder. So with these two, I'm basically going to have a sandwich. These are the plastic ones that are solid. They do not break up at all. So I'm going to make a sealed sandwich. 2 white ones on the outside, 1 black one in the middle. If you're lucky, you can maybe bend this like a taco. All 3 of them, I think. Doing all 3 might be a little tough. So I think we're going to do one. We're going to bend one like a taco. We're going to have to put a bend in this no matter what, because we had to bend it to get it out. But it shouldn't do any harm. Unless you had to take this in and out several times, then it would probably be a problem. So we're making it a taco. Putting it in this direction. There's actually a ledge in there. You're going to see a step, 2 steps in there. So you're going to go right in the middle, fitting on the edge. So I'm making a taco. I'm going to try and get 1 point in there, stick it right in the middle. And I'll hold it tight with this finger, and then I'm going to push, basically lock this finger in, and then start to press the other piece in. And just make sure it falls in place, because there's a first step and then a second step. You want to go into the second one. Still locking this finger in and just trying to walk the rest of that. There we go, the white one down. There. Got that in there. Kind of squeeze like that, stick it in a corner there. Or actually there's no corner, but kind of stick it in right in the slot where it needs to go. Lock it in with this finger, push, walk the rest of it around. Got that in there, so we're going to push that down a little bit more. So just so there's enough room for this last one right here. Again, like a little taco. I'm going to poke a corner in there. Let's see, I'm going to flip this upside down. Yeah, then I'm going to try and get right on top of the black O-ring, get this finger, squeeze that in there, lock this index finger in there, and then try and walk the rest of it in, trying to stay on top of that black rubber O-ring. Now we got tons of space on the top. Now we got that first step. This guy will fit in there perfectly now. Kind of tuck it there, hold it in place, and then walk it around. And then just kind of push it back in, so that one's set nicely too. So looking good there. Okay, so we're all through there. Now going back to this guy. This guy's a piece of cake, because he's actually split. So we're going to put one here. That goes there, and then we'll come back with this rubber O-ring. And so cooperative. Push that down flat all the way. And go ahead, work that piece around. There we go. Valve at the top, and we're just going to put a little bit of pressure right there. Before we do that, though, we want to put some Buzzies slick honey. We're going to lubricate our bushings here, our bushings inside here, and this bushing right there. Honey from Buzzies. And this stuff works great for installation for shocks. Anything that's going to be sliding back and forth, great lube. And that's about it. Just a nice thick coat, doesn't need to be gooped on. We don't need a lot of excess floating around for no reason. And some on the threads here won't hurt as well. That'll help with some of the sealing process. And then we got a little bit on the inside here. We just put our 1, 2, 3 seals along with our dust lip. And that should be it there. So we're going to slide this guy on here. Have to get past it, this section here. It's going to take some pressure, a little bit of force. There we go. Now when we go to install this on the bike, we got to put this ring back on so this one can wait for installation to the bike. So if it doesn't do anything in one direction, go ahead and unclick it to the opposite direction. There we go. Righty-tighty should be tightening it, which means it's going to slow the rebound. It's going to come back to resting position, which is extending. It should extend very slow. Again, I'm going to test it, push this whole thing, compress. And make sure if you do have like a control or a climb trail descend, make sure it's in descend So this is an old school one. I'm not sure where this one's at, but you want to definitely compress with ease. Okay, there we go. Now see how slow it's decompressing? That means the rebound is at its tightest, which means it's in the slow position, which is going to be good for us for the install. So when we go to press this, it's going to give me a lot of time to go ahead and start this. So I'm going to press, use a lot of force. So I'm going to go ahead and squirt this on the inside, have it drain down. And try and squeeze it all in there if you can. Get 2 hands on it. We just want to move this canister here. You don't need to move the whole shock back here. So I go ahead and I cock my wrists all the way to the left. So I'm basically unwinding my wrists, pushing up, try and make contact and keep that constant contact, and then you're going to start tightening righty-tighty and tighten, go as far as you can. See how I did all that and I missed. So I'm going to speed the process up a little bit. So I'm winding back, contact, spin, there we go. Just had to focus, and then this is going to be hand tight. There we go. Got 2 hands on it. Basically, it's going to come to an abrupt stop. There's really no further you can go, so that's as tight as it can go. And this is the way they come, typically from the factory. You may notice that your the stanchion down here is twisted, where it's not going to align back with our bolts. You can just simply put a screwdriver or something in there and align it up to however you need. So let me flip this around. That wants to flop around. Just be careful we're not gouging anything. And I'm using the toe peak shock pump. This is a 2-piece. So 1 piece tightens up first, get firm on there, and then there's a second ring. It's kind of like a lock ring that goes on second. This is to minimize how much air we lose when we disconnect. So we should be at 0. I'm going to go ahead and pump. So typically these can go up to about 300 psi, but you need to check with your manufacturer. And I'm just going to put in maybe 100 just for test. See? I'm at about 90. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. So just remember your orientation. Now I was told that actually as a Cane Creek, they said the shock could be placed in any direction and it would still work. So I would double check with your manufacturer first before you did that. You just want to make sure that you do have access to your levers, your lockout, your CTD, your air pressure valve, and your rebound, and whatever else you might have. That's the important thing. And of course, however it does move, it's just not going to bang and hit anything. Like we don't want this to move and hit our valve over here. So on this one, this shaft actually fits nice and tight in this bracket here to the rear triangle. So no bushings or spacers are needed here. So the spacers I do have, these are flat. They do go on the inside over there. That will tell you real quick. So right now I'm a little bit short, so you're going to lift up on your rear triangle. So to line up our hole, I'm going to move up that triangle. If it stays, great. If not, you might have to hold it with your body. Get our shaft ready. So it's great when everything moves easy. I can just start my screw and kind of jiggle around, get it through there, and then get my nut. Actually, my nut fell on the inside. So to get those spacers to work, so I had trouble lining up those spacers just so I can get it near the shock and then run the bolt through it. So we're just putting here's where you're putting a good gob of grease right on the face there. Just like that. Put a nice thick gob of grease there, so when you go, I have to place this on the inside of the frame and I need it to stay in place, so this grease is going to help that stay in place. So basically I'm doing something like this and allow that spacer to sit, boom, so that grease is holding it in place, and I can come through with, line up my holes and run my bolt right through it. So it should stay long enough for you to get that done. That's my pro tip of the day. I'm going to go ahead and put some air in it. Typically these can go up to 300 psi, but always check with the manufacturer. I certainly don't weigh 300 pounds, but in most cases it's pretty close for pound. So in a pinch, if you had to, you weigh 150, you can get in somewhere like 150 is probably fine. But if you're borderline getting close to 250, 300 pounds, maybe shy and go on to the lower side and just be careful when you ride, but definitely get the exact amount. Best way to get your proper air pressure is always do the sag test. You sit on the bike, have someone hold you up, and then you check your rings. So that's 150. I'm going to go ahead and test it. And don't forget, before you hook up your shock where the stanchion is, go ahead and put that O-ring on there. That's going to be your sag measurement O-ring. Slide that on just like that. And go ahead and go back down in the bolt. I'm going to go back through here. We're going to put a little bit of Loctite on those threads. A little dab will do you. A little drop. That drop will spread out as you screw it in there. If you have trouble lining up your hole, you can always get a screwdriver of some sort. Just make sure it's not too fat, and you can more or less get it fairly aligned. And then go ahead and, there we go. So I got about 150 pounds in there. I weigh about 160. And we're just gonna do a test. Make sure that everything's all good. So I'm gonna go ahead and test. I got about 160 PSI, I'm about 160. It's gonna press down, have the shock in the open position where it's gonna compress real easy. And we're just looking at movement right at the stanchion. And it feels pretty good. It feels right. It feels what I'm used to. You can also test the rebound. You can tighten up the rebound. It should decompress very slowly. Right now, the rebound is very loose, meaning it's fast, so it's gonna decompress really quickly. So actually it feels pretty good. Go ahead and hook up your brakes and all that stuff. If you want, you can also put a little bit of that Buzzy Slick Honey. You can put a little bit on the stanchion tube here, just a light film around. And that's gonna help it slide a little easier. And that's something you can do every so often. You wanna wipe down after every ride, and you put a little bit of a thin film on there, and it'll help compress real nice and easy.